Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stratosphere Studio. I'm your host, Bill Whittle, and here we are on December 5th of 2022. Hi, caramba. I was thinking about this just the other day. The pandemic, it just took 2 years away from everybody, everything. It's like I keep wondering, why haven't I done so much lately? It's because nothing happened for 2 years. But it's good to be back. I don't know if we mentioned this before. This is the pop culture one, Night's Edge. So yeah, a lot of people are complaining about the microphone being kind of loud and distorted, and I said, well, the levels here look good. Turns out this microphone's got a little dial here on the back, which is groovy, but unfortunately, it doesn't have. It's a it's like a fly-by-wire button. So you can turn it, turn it, turn it, turn, turn it, turn, 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 turn. No way to tell what the top end is, what the bottom end is. So it turned out the gain was too high on that. So anyway, so it's a little bit better. So lots of stuff to talk about, I'd like to say, but the bottom line is actually today I'm just kind of cooked out. And I do have some new minor animations to show, but that was only because they didn't take me very long, and I just want to, that's all I want to do. I just want to go back to that. Before we get to that, though, I would like to point out this awesome, absolutely awesome Ultramarine mug. Is it? Am I an Ultramarine or am I a Chaos Marine? Which comes to us courtesy of Marusha Dark, who has been just the centerpiece of so many of these shows for quite a while now. Thank you very much. It was a very, very kind and surprise. So, hooray! Thank you, Marusha. It's filled with corpse paste. Oh, that was really, as I say, very nice. It was a nice surprise. And it changes color when you heat it. As long as I don't become a blood angel, then I guess that's okay. Although I like the blood angels. Anyway, yes, the Emperor protects is right. Yes, a couple people mentioned before we started that as we record this, 6:15 on Monday, Kirstie Alley has died. Like recently, I think like within the last half hour of the hour. After what they're calling a short bout with cancer, but I suspect that's because she probably held it at bay for a while and then it just kind of got out of control and stuff. But 71 years old. She'll always be sapphic to me, I can tell you. I thought she was great at that, and I thought she was terrific on Cheers. Like I said, I have a little bit of inside baseball on Cheers. I did 4 spec scripts for them in their final season. None of them were aired, but I went to the writers' meetings and, pitched them and got feedback from the producers and the writing staff. And they like to talk about how there's basically Cheers 1 and Cheers 2, because the guy who played Coach in Cheers 1 died, and then shortly thereafter, I think, maybe before, but I'm pretty sure shortly thereafter, what's her name left the show, and her name is flown right out of my head now. It'll come up in the sound thing here. I'll see it in just a second. Diane. She bugged out so that she could do movies, and I remember the first movie she did was Camp something or other, and boy, it was awful. Shelley Long, thank you. They said that of all the people that were ever on the show as regulars, Shelley Long was the only one who was really a problem. She was just kind of person who show up in a limousine and complain about, pretty much everything. Thank you, Big Crazy 15. Nice, lovely compliment about the What We Saw series. But everybody else was just a joy, and Kirstie Alley was a lot of fun. She was just lighthearted and cool. And they also said that it kind of goes to what's interesting about sitcoms and television formula movies. The reason they're formulas is because they work. When Coach died, when Coach left the show, and then Diane left the show, they had to get somebody to replace the stupid jokes that the coach used to get. So that was Woody, and they needed somebody to replace the smart jokes that Diane used to get. So they brought in Frasier, and I just thought that was so interesting that's how balanced everything was, and how versatile it was. But I really, I thought she was great. And I thought she was great in Wrath of Khan, which is one of my favorite movies. And I was one of those guys that was, just kind of jarring when they replaced her in Search for Spock. But I guess she had a movie career calling too, so you never know. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of sad, and she's not quite in legend category, but she's definitely in the pantheon. So I hope she has a good flight, because she struck me as a very cool person. So I don't like the fact that people who are 10 years older than me are starting to die off. And people who are 20 years older than me are starting to die off faster. I don't like that. However, the Rolling Stones, you lose Charlie Watts, okay, but Jagger's still there, and for some insane reason, so is Keith Richards. So I guess got a little life left in the girl. It is it's a fine show now. Eric Blake says that Sam and Diane all the way. That was definitely the romance. That was definitely it. Because that was just the big tease. But in any event, I'll tell you who's an interesting character on Cheers, an interesting character to write for. She was in all 4 of the spec scripts I ended up doing for them. And that was Lilith. B.B. Newworth had done something with that character that it was like dipping your pen in poison. You just when you would write for that character, it almost wrote itself. Just think of the most nasty, cutting, heartless thing you could possibly say in the situation, and then go back and then turn that up to 11, and it was great. And the great thing about a villain like that is, because she is kind of a villain, the great thing about a villain like that, which didn't really apply to Carla actually, because Carla was sassy, but you never really hated her. She always kind of liked Carla. But with Lilith, you could have Lilith say something really nasty and funny, and then just as that's starting as that wave is just starting to curl, just starting to break into foam, then you can have Frasier with a comeback, and it's like, hooray. So anyway, sitcoms are very simple, just like movies. Movies, 3-act structure. We did a couple of episodes ago, and it's a formula because it works. Likewise on sitcoms, it's really just you got a different situation on a sitcom. The sitcom, modern sitcom, anybody in the comment section want to guess? Live here on Twitch or on YouTube, anybody want to guess who invented the sitcom as in the format that everybody's come to know it? Anybody want to guess? Taking bets from the audience. One man did it, and he did it because he had to. It was just a technical problem he had to solve. Seinfeld, no, way before Seinfeld. And we're still waiting. Lucille Ball, nope. But you're closer. Desi Arnaz. Yes, that's right. Desi Arnaz invented the sitcom. Desi Arnaz invented it because he had a problem. He was working on a small budget, and he had a lot of product to deliver with I Love Lucy. And he's married to one of the funniest people that ever lived in terms of their ability to be a comic actress. And they were doing some tests before the thing really got on its feet, and they would get in there and do the show, and they were expecting to add the laugh track afterwards, and they did, and the laugh track helps. If you ever listen to Gilligan's Island without the laugh track, it's just shocking. But what Desi Arnaz realized was that Lucille Ball was so good at playing off the laugh. She didn't have any laughter to play off of, but that was just, she was instinctively so good. She knew exactly how long to hold a look or hold a line, and then just delivered. Her comic timing was perfect. And Desi realized that she can't do what she does best because there's no audience feedback. So he says, we have to shoot this in front of a live audience. And that created a different problem. How do you do that? Movie making is a long process, Traditional movie making, especially low budget movie making, you've got a camera, and if you got two people sitting in a booth talking, obviously this is the basics, but you plunk the camera back, you're shooting, you got them facing each other. There's the glass that sells, Sal's Diner on it. There's the parking lot out there, so we know, okay, we're in a diner. So there's the master shot, then you shoot the reversals of character one, shoot the reversals of character two, and off you go. Wasn't The Honeymooners before I Love Lucy, says Knight? Says yes, but The Honeymooners was not shot like a sitcom. It was shot like a stage play. There's a big difference. So Desi Arnaz is in there, and he says, these things take forever. It's going to take us, 12 hours to film an episode, moving all these cameras around and then, restarting and all the rest of this stuff. And then he realized, well, if we have 3 cameras rolling at the same time, maybe we could get it in one. And then sitcoms became closer to what stage acting is than any other thing on TV. Because when you're acting on camera, either for movies or for TV dramas or The Honeymooners, you're limited. In the case of the older shows like The Honeymooners, you're limited by the fact that you're on a stage. I think they had one camera. Occasionally they'd push into a mid shot, but they weren't going for isolated shots. Here's Woody, here's Cliff, here's Woody, here's Cliff, Sam got a line, that kind of thing. So Desi Arnaz just invented it, and he basically said, we're going to do this like a live play, and we're going to rehearse the camera moves as hard as and as long as we rehearse the actors and their blocking on the stage. So basically, you would get in there as a director of an episode, you'd have your script. Everybody would be still on book, probably. They're still holding their scripts while they're reading. But you got to block them out. You got what happens. Lucy says these lines, and Ethel says these lines. Where are they? So once you got them blocked out, Lucy goes into the kitchen. She says one line off camera, comes back out. Ethel gets up from the chair, that kind of thing. Once you got that sorted out, and it looks good and it feels good, then he had to get the cameras. And I think he had just had 3. Then he had to get 3 cameras, and he had to cover everything with those, including what passed for close-ups in those days. And it's just it's a ballet. And if you watch a show like Cheers being shot, and it's true for any modern sitcom, although there are not many of them left, but certainly I never watched or liked Big Bang Theory, but that's the last classical kind of sitcom I can remember. And basically, it's just astonishing. You got these cameras on these big pedestals. They just glide, and you'll see these characters are in this one position. Somebody will do a cross, and then cameras 3 and 4 will immediately just go to some completely new position to pick up the next shot. And generally speaking, you can get it in one. In terms of editing that thing, we did the Sunday morning shootout show that way. We had 3 cameras rolling simultaneously. And there was some talk about switching it in the booth. If it's being called live, if a director's calling the shots live, ideally, you're not going out live. You're calling the shots live. And camera 2, okay, and close up on Desi, and close up, okay, back to 1 and 1, that kind of thing. So it's you're sending to videotape which cameras are active at the time. But ideally, you're recording all 3 separately, so you can kind of go in there and fix it. Blank Frankie, holy crap, it's Brian Regan. I don't know what that means, but Brian Regan's my favorite comedian. So he's genuinely funny. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. So it's a joy to watch. And then since they recorded all the cameras anyway, if there was a little mix-up, we're a little late on this shot, a little early on that shot. Guys like me could go in there and put them in there and kind of, tidy them up a little bit. I've mentioned this before, bears mentioning again. One of the, I guess, the tricks that the Cheers staff told me about was to hang on to some of your best material, if you've got a certain beat, you can't really change what you're writing about. I mean, the story has to follow the story. But they were saying sometimes, if you've got something a little bit weaker, put that in when you submit the script. Yes, that's what got us talking about Cheers. Kirstie Alley's passed away. And I said, well, that's interesting advice. The thing about Cheers that impressed me so much was how high their standards were and how they would throw out things that were really funny if they didn't advance the plot. So why would I do that? And he said, well, here's what happens. So let's say we record on a Saturday night, right? So Sunday's off. Monday we come in and we do our first table read. And people get in their first look at the scripts, right? And everybody's discovering it as they're reading it, and everybody's laughing. And all the jokes are funny, and everybody's really happy. And then the next day you start the blocking rehearsals, and now you've got some of the moves, and the jokes are actually kind of funnier now because they're working on the timing. The timing's getting better. You get to Wednesday, you're at the point where you're really starting to refine this thing. Maybe let's say you shot on Friday instead of Saturday. By the time you get to Thursday, you're getting into the day before the shoot. It's practically dress rehearsal time. And they said, at this point, the writers have been, the actors have been saying the lines for 4 days now, and all the things that they used to think were funny, they don't find funny anymore because they've just chewed all the flavor out of that gum, right? They've just plain said the lines so many times, they're losing confidence in the script. And many times they would have to, at the last minute, just kind of, either tweak the joke or replace the joke or something with the same kind of thing. He said, sometimes it's just nice to have that. We'll work at it anyway, but it makes them happy because they just kind of, after you say something 40, 50 times, it's not quite as funny as it is the first time. And that I remember that being such a human thing when it was explained to me. At the same time, it was really kind of annoying, as a writer. But anyway, did I meet Rog Long at that time? No, I didn't meet him then. Anyway, she was great. Everybody was great. And I have been to 5 or 6 tapings of Cheers, and I think one of Newhart. And those things are genuinely a blast. If you ever find yourself in Los Angeles and you get a chance to, like I said, those days are largely over now. The golden age of sitcoms long past. But if you get a chance to be in the studio audience for that, it's really, really cool. And when you walk into the set the first time and you come around the corner and you see the bar, and you've been watching that bar on TV for 10 years, and you see it, it's, oh man, that's nuts. That's crazy. And another piece of trivia that I've mentioned before, but I'll mention one more time for whatever new viewers we may have. You might be interested to know, speaking of Desi Arnaz inventing the sitcom, the bar in Cheers is located on the exact precise spot on the ground as Lucy and Ricky's living room in I Love Lucy. It is where the couch is in I Love Lucy is where the bar is in Cheers. But would I rather see the Bridge of the Enterprise as Dave Big Booty? Yes, I would. And by the way, there are at least 2 and maybe more Enterprise bridges that have been built by fans that are available for you to go shoot your fan film in. One of them's not very good at all. One of them's pretty good, and one of them's fantastic. And the fantastic one is the one that Vic Mignogna used for Star Trek Continues. Vita Vita Benjamin, exactly. She was a brilliant physical actress. But again, like I said, you need feedback for that. So that's why Desi Arnaz invented the sitcom all on his own, and he doesn't get enough credit for that. He doesn't get enough credit for anything. The Star Trek was produced by Desi Lu. Desi Arnaz decided that show deserved a run, and Lucy always was in the spotlight. And he was an amazing guy. He really was an amazing guy. So anyway, just fun facts to know and tell. So, I do have a weak animation to show, which I'll get to in a minute. I think what we'll probably do, I've been informed through the comments that they didn't have a BillWhittle.com topic up for this, so it would be a good time to go to, you know what, I was going to say go to Facebook. Maybe I'll go to Facebook, get through those fast, and then we'll just do like chats. We'll just do chat questions for a little while. That'll keep us going. Okay, so Bart's Treasure says it was Lucy that greenlit Star Trek. Okay, I believe that. But it was Desilu Productions, so nevertheless, they were really forward-thinking people. And a lot of what they did kind of goes unsung. Okay, so I had one other thing to do. What was it? I don't know. Anyway, here's some animation for you kids. I have been so swamped with the writing. I spent 2 hours on this. That's not a long time. But I was just working on getting the realism of some of these planets right I tried some with the Blender Planet Creator, and this planet you're about to see is from the Unreal 5 Planet Creator. There's something wrong with them yet. I don't know what it is. I suspect it's that there's not enough bloom. When you've got something bright, the edges of it bloom. It's like the light spills over. And I know that there's still a lot of things about this that I don't like, but there are a few things about this that I do like. Yes, we are recording. And I purposely did them very, very slow. It's about 2 minutes, 3 shots about 2 minutes long. So it's real slow and leisurely. And I did that because I wanted to have enough time for my eye to really take a look at these things, just really start to break them down. So I finished this almost 2 weeks ago, about had it last week, couldn't do it. But in any event, here's a work in progress. I think it's better than the stuff we've seen before, but it's certainly not there yet. Here's a work in progress of Planet Creator in Unreal 5, and I'll just do whatever commentaries occur to me as we watch it. First of all, it looks too white. There's clouds there, and there's snow at the polar caps. Those are procedural clouds. I'm going to replace those with photographic clouds with an alpha channel because they look more realistic. They've got the photographic clouds have swirls and stuff. Now, somebody says, who said that? Air Techie says it needs more water. Actually, it's supposed to be a barren planet with just a little bit of water. I'm specifically going for that kind of a Super Mars look. I don't want more water here. I want this to be a really arid place. Now, that shot I like a lot better. And the surface decal is not too bad. There's too much atmospheric haze on the limb, and the edge of the atmosphere is too razor sharp. Both of those things I can fix. Jack says it doesn't feel bright enough. That's really the problem, is it's completely underexposed. But again, I wanted to see the details. But with that said, I'm actually pretty happy with the way the lakes look. I'm pretty happy with the surface detail on the ridges. I don't know what that sparkling is caused by. And this is kind of rolling into orbit kind of thing. So the clouds are a problem because they're not very defined on the edges either. I like the shadows on the clouds, but they're just kind of blobby. They're kind of marshmallows that got stuck there. The detail on the lakes I like a lot. I'm pretty happy with the polar ice. But some of those clouds are coming out gray, and that doesn't work. But the surface textures actually look pretty good, and they hold up pretty well. I mean, this is pretty low orbit. So that's, like I said, it's getting there. I think that we will be able to use this and get something good out of it when we do when we get to the point where we got people who really know what they're doing. Until then, there's that. One of the things that people tend to do on these kind of things is that they want to overdo the bump maps, make it a little too rocky looking. If the Earth were shrunk to the size of a pool ball, it'd be smoother than any pool ball ever made. It's really very little compared to the diameter of the planet. Andrew DeLay says, by bloom, did you mean softening of the edges where you see the atmosphere? No, that it needs that too. It needs that atmosphere was razor sharp. That's not going to work. So that atmosphere needs to be diffuse and light blue, fading to black, and the inside of that edge, as the atmosphere gets thicker, as you look through it, it's too thick, it's too murky. So clouds were casting shadows on the surface, but they were casting shadows on the surface. That's a tricky one. Their shadows were definitely there. I'll play it again later if you want. But it's not a bad start. And it's I know that the biggest problem is the clouds. So there are photographic clouds. It's just a sphere, and they're clouds with an alpha channel, so that's clear, and you've got real stormy thick ones and real thin ones. So this planet needs real thin clouds, high clouds, kind of like cirrus clouds or something. So that's that here. From Woods Precision Arms, super chat. Bill, you're a man of many talents, and we both idolize Burt Rutan. Looking forward to the new Soviet series. Why not just produce it yourself? You damn sure have the multi-talent to pull it off. That's extremely kind of you, Woods. It really is. But and I certainly don't want to sound like I'm being contrary, because it's a very kind thing to say. But the fact of the matter is, the thing I need to be working on now is doing less work myself and getting more involved with people who know what they're doing. We might be seeing the Cold War video in December. I think by January, certainly. Looking forward to linking to that. And again, when you're working with great people, the camera operators were great, the makeup people were great, the direction was very good, set design was good, all of that stuff. And it lets me concentrate on the stuff that I'm good at. So that was a lot of fun. Did I talk about the set ideas for the Soviet show last time? Can somebody just let me know, because I don't remember if I did or not. If I did, it was last week, and if it was, I'm not going to say it again. But did I mention the conversation I had about the new set? No? It's a no. That's one no. I'm thinking maybe I did not. I'll wait for one more authentication of that. Okay. So, yes, I did mention it. So coming out of the spotlight, being in a dungeon, yes. So using the LED walls they've got, I wanted the first 4 or 5 episodes to be like you were in the dungeon of the Lubyanka. And really dark except for harsh white lights, and then I wanted the final 2 or 3 to be out on the gulag. So the set on it's a funny thing too, because we were talking about sets and Kirstie Alley and sitcoms and all the rest of it. It's amazing. I didn't do a lot of acting, but I did enough. It's amazing the effect that sets and especially costume has on actors. I was in Man of La Mancha. I was a guard. I was covered in Texas dirt, which is a kind of a body paint, to swarther me up a little bit. And I got in some fake plastic armor, and I had my fake conquistador hat on, and I had a sword, and mostly I had boots. And man, you just walk so differently. It's actually a little worrisome how much that costume brings out the conquistador in you. All of the stuff that I did with Daily Wire was just super, super great like that. And the set for Apollo 11, what we saw, just made me practically weep when I went in there. I couldn't believe it. So we'll get something. Yes, I want to do Texas TXG Runner says do 30 seconds over Tokyo before the studios ruin it. You can use real B-25s. Yes, I can. There's talk about doing feature films of America's Forgotten Heroes. It'd be Frank Luke, John Paul Jones, Doolittle Raid, Taffy 3, especially Taffy 3. And I'd like to do all these things. This thing is killing me. This Soviet thing is killing me. It's I guess it's possible to over-research something because I just have too much. I have so much information and so many notes that I don't feel like I can even unpack them, So I just need to finish these babies and kick them out the door because I'm way, way, way overdue on those, and I would like to move on and get on to some of the feature film stuff. Eric Blake says, "Ooh, Bill, one of my questions is on the John Paul Jones film. That's in Facebook, I assume, Eric. So we could do that." Super chat from Rodzilla, $5. Thank you, Rodzilla. You think the DW guys would consider a special discount link for Bill Whittle members to view your stuff behind their paywall? I am going to ask about that. It's possible. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. It's possible. No, it doesn't seem likely that they would. Maybe I can talk them into putting one episode up or something on. There's a 13 episodes, so maybe we could put a couple up on YouTube to tease people into the series. But again, they're just they're superb business people, and this, they paid me to do it. It's theirs. I would like it very much, needless to say, but I would like to. I will certainly ask. And Blank Frankie's back with another super chat. Says, the way you describe your vision of a Soviet series bring to mind some of the powerful scenes from The Checklist. The Checklist. Man of La Mancha, 1972, Man of La Mancha, Tom. Edward Smith wants to know, so what did the Soviets do better than Americans, Bill? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is kill people, kill their own people. They were extraordinarily good at that. They not only good at that, they excelled at that. The wantonness of it, the sheer, plain, inconsequential aspect of, have those people shot, have those 20,000 people shot, shoot 90,000 human beings. Doesn't matter which ones, just shoot them. No one killed more communists than Stalin. Hitler didn't even come close. He's just from top to bottom, the whole thing was just so murderous. You should never go backwards while you're writing a draft, because otherwise you never finish anything. But I'm going to have to go back on the rewrites and debuff some of the stuff about the Romanovs. They actually come off a little bit too sympathetic. What the Tsar had in place was brutal and horrible. It's just that the Soviets made it 1,000 times more brutal and more horrible. I do get a chance to compare what the Tsarists' prison or work camp requirements were versus what the communists were. Eric says, remember, Bill, the perfect is the enemy of the good. No, I completely get that. It's not even a question of that now. It's just a question of how do I, just got so many notes. I just over-researched it, I think. So anyway, The Checklist is the movie that got me started on this. I've mentioned it many, many times. Not going to go into detail again. There's a movie on YouTube called The Chekist, Chekist. It's made by Russian filmmakers in the 1990s during that brief window when they had some real freedom there. And then before Vladimir came in. And it is not for the faint-hearted. It's full frontal nudity because they're just shooting people and they're just raking up. There's no gore. There's absolutely no gore in it at all, none. But they're just 6 people up against the wall, shoot them in the head. They go down and they're stark naked and they just pile them on a truck. So there's that. Hey, Zachary Lahoki, sorry if I got that wrong, just arriving. Getting back from work. How we doing, y'all? Well, we're all doing fine. How about you, Zachary? I hope you had a good shift. And it's really just almost unbelievable. It's almost unbelievable. Eric Blake says, I'm curious how I'll address Anastasia. I don't even mention Anastasia Romanoff. There's a woman who claimed to be Anastasia, and technically Anastasia, and managed to convince a lot of people that knew the czars that she somehow escaped the thing. But no, her skeleton is there with the rest of them, and it's the right size, and it's wearing the right clothes, and the DNA matches, and all that other stuff. So now, turns out that Anastasia and Alexei were buried in a different location, not far, just a couple of yards. The speculation is that I think it was Bakumov who got the pronunciation wrong, but the guy who was in charge of the murders at the last minute decided to bury two of the kids somewhere else because he trying to think like so smart. He's like, hey, I know they're going to be looking for 11 people, and they're only going to find 9, so maybe they won't think it's the Romanovs. Okay. Just to give you an idea, of how ad hoc and horrible the thing was. It took 20 minutes to shoot these people, to kill them all. And when they put the bodies on this truck, it was a 60 horsepower truck. And when they're driving out to their first burial spot, everybody, except for the guy who was running the operation, was so drunk that as they're driving out there, the guy who's in charge realizes that the second guy, first officer kind of thing, was so drunk that he brought one shovel. He's got 11 bodies to bury. He's got a team of 20 guys waiting for him out there. He brought one shovel. Okay. Marusha says, Bill, what about a sister series called America's Forgotten Villains with people like William Hearst, Woodrow Wilson, Hamilton, FDR, etc.? None of those people, in fact, all of those people together don't combine. They can't get close to what any of these secret police Chekists did. I remember in the Cold War, What We Saw series, I said on one day Stalin signed 3,840 pages of death warrants. And on one day, Dwight Eisenhower got so angry that he threw a golf club in the general direction of an aide. Not at the aide, just in that general direction. This is the worst thing that you could say about both those two guys, and there's somewhat of a difference between those two positions, if you think about it. I don't want to do America's Forgotten Villains. I got better things to do. For our many faults, and you always need to say that because it's true. For our many faults, the thing that I want most out of this is for people to realize just how good things are here and just how appallingly stupid you have to be to defend that system. And I saw a guy when I was just doing some research not too long ago called himself like the coffee table Stalinist or something like that. Something kind of groovy, something kind of hip, coffee table Stalinist. I'd like to introduce him to some of the real Stalinists. I don't want anything to happen to him, but I wouldn't mind him seeing what the Stalinists are really all about. And as somebody said, then there's always Mao. And people know less about Mao than they do about the Soviets. And I suspect that's because they are much more closed society, and it may be because people don't care as much. There's Russia has had a brutal history before the Bolsheviks arrived. But China has always treated their people as if they're not even cattle. It's more like as if they're coal or something like that. So they win so far. I think a good case for 30, 40, 50 million people killed during this enforced famine that Mao introduced. 30 million at least. That's quite a few people. Rodzilla for $5 super chat. Michael Malice pointed out that the soldiers at the Stalingrad Memorial, I believe, are in a mass grave. They just value life differently. Yes, they do. And that differently, there is a lot. One of my biggest challenges, as I've said before, is trying to convey both the scale at the same time and personalize this. But Americans just can't get our heads around it, and we never will, and I hope we never do. I really hope that we never really get to the point where we can understand this. We just have to, I would like people to just sit back and just kind of look at each other in amazement when you get down to the details of these things, like the specific details of them. It's just I don't know what to say, you know. When just as one example, when Yezhov, who was the guy who was actually the charge of the secret police during the Great Terror, Yezhov had about 17 months, 16 months, something like that. He replaced Yagoda, and then his job was to clean out the Bolsheviks, clean out the Communist Party. And Yezhov murdered so many people during the Great Terror. And when it was clear that Yezhov was about finished, he was about running out of people to murder. And Stalin always had the way of letting people know that their time is coming to an end. Yezhov could see that he was about to get dumped. And Yezhov is panicking, so Yezhov kills everybody underneath him. Anybody who may have dirt on him, all of his subordinates, kills them all. All the people that he hung out with, all the people he worked with, just murders them, you know, because they may have some dirt on him. Night's Edge says, so you're saying that Biden's not that bad. You know what? I hate to admit it, but that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. We are so far away from real terror that we let the rhetoric just get to, incandescent levels. And while I don't want to be the guy who says we need to calm down a little bit, it wouldn't hurt to keep things a little more in perspective. The reason I'm doing this series, the reason I want to do this series is because I know this subject well. And I see some of the signs of what it looked like when it started over there. I see some of those signs here. And I want to nip it in the bud, Andy, is what I want to do. I just want to nip it in the bud. But he's selling us out to people who are that bad. Yeah, although, Spike, I don't want to argue with you because I'm not a fan of the Chinese Communist Party, to say the least. I almost said that they didn't kill anything like the number of people that the Soviets did, but they probably did in the last 2 years, In any event, it's important to maintain perspective, because when you start calling people like you're as bad as Hitler, all you're doing is degrading the memory of the people that he actually murdered, because he says something you don't like. So anyway, everywhere you look where communism is enforced, it's just killing fields. You got the Chinese communists. You got the I don't know if you've seen the movie The Killing Fields. Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. They're not fun people at all, and they can't be, because their philosophy is so inhuman that you have to use barbaric methods to get people to conform to them. That's that. I don't want to get too much into the political here. So why don't we go to Facebook? See what we got here. I would really like to be finished with this Soviet series, and then I would like to take 10 days off and just hit the road in my car and just go. Not even just point it east and just do a road trip. All right, here we go. Eric Blake. Show them all. So it looks like we're going to have some time in the comments section, so gear up out there, gang. Let's see, Eric Blake, peace and long life, image of Bill Whittle. Live long and prosper, Eric Blake. So I had a thought about your film ideas based on America's Forgotten Heroes. Jeremy Boring and crew have gone on at great length about how Daily Wire is intending to become competition for Disney, particularly the kids' stuff, but regardless. Imagine, if you will, your John Paul Jones film starring one Mr. Johnny Depp. Now bear with me on this. I'm bearing. We know Depp is decidedly less than pleased about Disney's behavior with him over the whole Amber Heard debacle, using the Jack Sparrow character without giving him proper compensation. So with Daily Wire being similarly displeased, albeit over other issues, One could imagine the common enemy appeal. Depp would probably love to stick it to Disney in such a blatant fashion. So, cast Depp as the real-world pirate turned American hero, and Depp and DW together give the perfect joint middle finger. What say you? Eric, I love you, man. You're one of the highlights of the show. You have been consistently one of the most intelligent and kind people in the comment section. But I have to tell you that casting Johnny Depp for John Paul Jones may be the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Johnny Depp, wherever Johnny Depp goes, he brings Jack Sparrow with him. Jack Sparrow is he's a clown. He's a buffoon. You couldn't put him in the role of John. I'm not saying he couldn't play it. I'm just saying he can't play it now, because if he plays anybody out at sea now, and if he ever puts on a tricorner hat again, he's going to be Jack Sparrow. And Jack Sparrow is a fun character, great character, but there's so much baggage attached to that. I'm trying to think about who I would cast in something like that. He wasn't a super tall guy, but wasn't like microscopic, but he was very compact. That's one thing people said about him. He was well made but small, and he didn't look short. He just looked like somebody taken a real big 6-foot heroic guy and just scaled him down to 5'3" or whatever he was. So it needs to be somebody like compact like that. I can't think of anything right away. Chris Pine, no, he can't be that. He can't be that handsome. He can't be that dashing. He's got to be more tormented. I like Channing Tatum better than Chris Pine for that, but there are better choices out there. Tom Hardy, wow, that's a thought. Tom Hardy, that's a thought. I think there are 3 or 4 great actors in the world: Daniel Day-Lewis, Joaquin Phoenix, Tom Hardy, and I think those 3 are in a league of their own. Really think those 3 are in a league of their own. What Tom Hardy does with his voice is, well, what Daniel Day-Lewis does with his voice is amazing. There's a YouTube video out there that's very good called how Daniel Day-Lewis uses his voice to act. But Tom Hardy is not only a master of his voice. You really do need to see Legend, where he plays the 2 brothers, the 2 British crime brothers. And so he's playing both roles. They're twin brothers. And one of them's very suave, and the other one's kind of, autistic and weird. And when you see them back to back, side by side, it's almost impossible to believe that it's the same face. He's not only done the voice so much different, but Tom Hardy looks really handsome, and standing next to him, he looks really stupid and kind of brutish. And it's the same face. It's not like he lost weight between the two. It's just expression and probably makeup and hair and all the rest of it. But my God, that is a great movie. I don't know if it's a great movie. It's a fun movie. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I love watching him. Tom Hardy is really, 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 really good. There's a super chat from Physics Hypernova. Have you read The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek? That book is still very relevant, even though it was first published in 1944. I have not read it, but I remember somebody famous saying that was what brought them around. That The Road to Serfdom was who was that? Somebody big, like a big conservative thinker, said that it was The Road to Serfdom that turned them around. I can't remember who it was, but in any event, I'd love to get to it when I get a chance to do it. I'm trying to, John Paul Jones needs to be a younger guy, and he needs to be smoldering. That's the word. If I had to give a casting director one adjective for John Paul Jones, I would say smoldering. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He He was a guy who was they'd done him dirty, and they'd done him dirty a bunch. It just Christian Bale. Now there you go. Oh, there you go. That's a great answer from Araya Public Insurance Adjusting. I did not know insurance adjusters had that kind of insight into that. Somebody said too old, maybe, but Christian Bale, yeah, Christian Bale's exactly it. That's exactly it. Even looks like Christian Bale. That would be absolutely the number one choice. He probably should be a little bit younger, but he. No, we're not talking about the keyboardist triplex Inaz, triplex Inaz. Sorry about that. Blank Frankie, Shredder Lounge road trip live stream. Yeah, maybe. I thought about that. No, we're talking about John Paul Jones, the naval captain. He was the second person in the series I did called America's Forgotten Heroes, and his story was just amazing. And the story of what happened after he died was also extremely amazing. And you can consult America's Forgotten Heroes over at Daily Wire. It's available on podcasts, by the way. I think they're available on podcasts, and for America's Forgotten Heroes, there is no video. There will be, but right now there isn't. Yeah, Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves has got a certain kind of a kindness to him, even when he's playing John Wick. But Christian Bale, that kind of just this kind of burning underneath the surface. So that's a damn good idea. All right, moving on. Eric Blake, hail Vectron, Citizen Whittle, by Vectron's Golden Claw, made the triumphs so recently deemed impossible turn out to be inevitable. Thank you. Now, about Bob Iger returning to Disney, I got to say, while he did oversee a significant catering towards militant feminists, he also was in power with things we deeply appreciated. See Christopher Robin, a film you and the crew sang the praises of on Right Angle. In the end, he's a bean counter and listens to the loudest voices in the room while making a profit. Chapek, of course, completely sold out to the woke scolds by picking a fight with Florida, and Disney's financially crippled from that stunt. So I foresee Iger will soon head to Tallahassee, kiss the ring of Ron DeSantis, and adhere to Ron's every demand in order to renew the self-governance contract. Whether conservatives like to admit it or not, it's in both sides' financial interest to come to an agreement, and I'd say that that's why Ron and the crew set the expiration date for the middle of next year to offer Disney a second chance, a chance Iger will be quick to seize. What say you? Well, I hate to disagree with you twice in a row, but Chapek, Iger was brought back because the Disney staff was in full-on revolt. And they were in full-on revolt because they did not think that Bob Chapek was fighting DeSantis hard enough. They thought he was. They thought that he was abandoning all the trans movement and stuff. So the idea of Bob Iger going back to DeSantis and taking a knee is, I think, like the least likely thing. Yes, there was one or two good movies that came out during his reign. He'd been there for a long time, but all of this garbage was started under Iger. All of these movies that have just come out in tank, Strange World and Willow and Lightyear, those are all Iger projects. He's going to go back to woke. Chapek was trying to turn that around, I think, but he didn't have anything like the power or the authority or the courage of the guy at Warner's whose name eludes me for the moment. But he should have. When I saw him kowtow after the Florida law, and especially that whole, I've got so much to learn, I need to be a better ally. Just shut up, honestly, just shut up. Just go find a soy latte someplace and go sit in a corner in the shade and just shut up. This thing is turning a corner. I know I've been saying that for quite a while. I want to get to Stefan Molyneux in a second. Here's a question about that. But not only are the films bombing and obviously Star Wars and Star Trek are becoming like long dead now, Indiana Jones is going to be thrown on that heap in the next couple months. I have no interest in seeing Avatar 2, no interest. I probably go just for the effects, but it looks like, oh, how subtle. Here are these natives who are in perfect balance with nature, and they swim around in the water, and there are no predators on the planet anywhere. And when they swim in the water, the things that should be sharks come up and nuzzle them, you know? Oh, boom. Yeah. They just, it's so one-dimensional. It's so over the top. It's so stupid and easy and lazy. Lazy, that's the word. Lazy. I really have no desire to see it. I feel like I've seen it already, right? I know what the story's going to be. Oh, look, here, the humans are back, and they're wearing their mechanical things because, capitalism is here to destroy things, and that's all there is to it. Marisha says, I recall plenty of predators in the first Avatar film. Yes, but they were not preying on the Na'vi. They're swimming in the water. Oh, here's a giant thing. Okay, they've apparently got a shark-like thing. Look, it's just this whole idea, right, that these people are so in touch with nature, and all they do is sit around and ride, ride vehicles and fly, and they swim and they do all these things, and it's like that's not what primitive life is like. It's not what it's like. You've never seen them eat, by the way, have you? I can't recall the Na'vi eating. I can recall them occasionally hunting, but I've never seen them eating. Don't you find that a little odd? It's because unless he's going to have them eating, papaya the whole time, blue glowing papaya, then he's going to have to show them doing something that's not idyllic. And it's such a childish attitude. It's such a stale, false, lame, sad, weak, lazy philosophy. Capitalism is good, and these native people are bad, and every time we come here, we ruin everything we ever go to. We just ruin them. We ruin everything. Get away from me, man. Get away from me. The filthiest the planet has ever been was quite a while ago. It's much cleaner now than it was in the second half of the 20th century, but the dirtiest places, and still are, were these socialist paradises, like East Germany, and all the toxic landfills are just radioactive material or flesh-dissolving chemicals. Just dump it in the Aral Sea. And as far as the noble savage goes, native people, primitive people, have spend a great deal more of their time engaged in warfare, and the percentage of them killed in war is astronomically higher than it is for civilized countries. And so there's James Cameron, who's, once again made billions of dollars off of capitalism, talking about how bad capitalism is. He could live in the Amazon and he could walk up to people and say, I see you. Okay, great. That's fantastic. You could do it. You could sit in the Amazon and you could hang out with the authentic people and you could stay down there, but you don't. You come back to, I'm assuming it's LA. Come back to this really big house in the Hollywood Hills with your own nice swimming pool overlooking the whole city. It's a spectacular view. I'm sure it's very, very, very nice. And then you come back and make more deals with more capitalism to bash capitalism again. The question I have for Cameron is, does he really believe this? I suspect that he does, but it's possible that he realizes that this is just the easiest way to get people to do it. Oh, okay, humans are bad. Remember when the first one came out? By the way, was I guess it was a Critical Drinker said, we don't talk about striking while the iron is ice cold. It was 13 years ago. And people were having nervous breakdowns because they weren't the Na'vi, because these people were so noble and life in America was so horrible and unbearable and all the rest of it. I'll go out and say something here. I think if you lived on Pandora, you would be extraordinarily bored very quickly. First of all, the whole planet is just blue. It's pretty blue. It's blue and purple and green. They're beautiful colors. Very, very soothing. Very, very, very cool. But the whole planet's just kind of a paradise. It's warm, but it's not hot, right? You never see them sweating, do you? You never see the Na'vi sweating. You never see them like laboring under the sun. But at the same time, they're not wearing any clothes, so it looks like it's pretty much 78 degrees outdoors, all over the planet, all the time. And they never sweat, and they never eat, and they never kill, and they never fight each other. They just are this childish view of the noble savage, which appeals to people who have made billions of dollars and talked about income equality while they're standing in front of an extra who makes $75 a day. The only thing I will say in Cameron's favor, he made my favorite movie. No question about him being a great director. The only thing I'll say in his favor is he used the profits from capitalism that he despises so much from Avatar, I'm sure. And he built a submarine, and he went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And I am much more afraid of doing that than I would be about going into outer space. I mean, in outer space, if you can wear a spacesuit. If you lose cabin pressure, that's one thing. If you're down there at those kind of depths and there's any kind of a problem, it's almost certain going to be instantaneous, but it's just a much more hostile place. The pressure's down there. During the Cold War, I was talking, my favorite episode was the one about the submarines and did the calculations on the Scorpion. Scorpion was a skipjack class sub. Tapered stern was the first class of subs that really had that kind of hydrodynamic smooth shape with the sail, big sail, dive planes on the sail. And so the stern tapered out to the torpedo. And when they finally found the Scorpion on the bottom of the ocean, the back quarter of the submarine had been compressed in like a telescope, like a Napoleonic telescope, just telescoped in. Because when the hull failed, that section got pushed forward by the water pressure around it. And a guy did the calculations on this, and he said that the tail section moved so fast it left the entire propeller and the propeller shaft. It just went so fast that it just left them behind. He estimated that the speed of that bulkhead was moving at 2,000 miles an hour. The good news is they were lights out. In case of Scorpion, it was 0.11 seconds, and Thresher was 0.13 seconds. And I think the fastest that, a sprinter has ever come off the blocks is pretty nearly a tenth of a second. So they, honest to God, genuinely, seriously, never had a chance to, they never knew what hit them. Looks like I missed a super chat, so I'm going to scroll up. What's the Bruce? Yeah, I don't want to spend all day doing this. I'm sorry if I missed one. I really am very, very... I saw it here in the Twitch comments stream, so if you actually can post it again, I'm sorry, I'll certainly get to it. Anyway, so let's go back to Facebook, and then we'll do some chat questions, and I'll just call it tonight because I really don't have a lot to talk about, to be honest with you, in terms of the entertainment stuff. I'm just pushing through this swamp. Steve Young says, question: when Clint Eastwood shot his movie Space Cowboys, did you try to be part of the production? No, I did not. No. I was as far on the outside as I could possibly be for most of my life there, and I didn't get a chance to work on that, and a lot of other movies I didn't get a chance to work on that I would have liked to have had a chance to work on. So let me see here. CP Tome says grandfather was a QC inspector on Thresher. Navy said, pass these, and he said no, so they shipped him out to Maine. Well, your grandfather at least can have the cold comfort of knowing that he wasn't part of those, he wasn't part of that failure. And being shipped to Maine is not a bad place for patriots to go. Good for him. Good for him. When I hear things like this, I did a right angle this week about the Pentagon and how it's basically it's like a temple. It's like a palace. The people inside the Pentagon don't give a damn about anything outside the Pentagon, including the soldiers. No, I got it there, Triple. It's a good question. So real quick, super chat, Wesley Bruce. Pandora is depicted as high biotech, but the producers don't get what that means. The Na'vi are the more advanced species. James Cameron does not understand what his own artists are doing. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so in the YouTube comments, I had a number of references to Stéphane Molyneux, who was canceled out of YouTube. And did I have any thoughts about that? And I do have some thoughts about that. I did probably 3 or 4 interviews with him, I think, and I had a really good time doing them, and I thought they were good discussions. I didn't agree with him about everything, but he's certainly extremely well spoken. He's very, very intelligent. He's very eloquent, and he was talking about important things, really important things, in the same way that Jordan Peterson talks about important things, big issues, and he was taking them head on. So next thing you know, his channel is pulled down from YouTube, and all that stuff is gone, and he seems to be gone. I know they did the same thing to Alfonso Rachel. They took his channel down off of YouTube, and then for the next 3 years, people would bump into Zoe and say, "Oh my God, man, what happened to you? Why did you give it up?" He said, "I didn't give it up. They just canceled me." The thing that's most disturbing about this is that a guy with that kind of intellect and that kind of reasonability and perspective, and education, and that variety of interests is canceled by some blue-haired 23-year-old that can't name 3 countries in the world, couldn't name 3 countries in the world. Eric Blake says Stefan was brilliant on many things. He got stuck in the ethnic IQ a bit too much, albeit just a bit. To his credit, he noted to Dave Rubin that genetics can change over time. See, this is the thing I don't understand. I don't know why these discussions are off limits. I mean, I do know why, but when you put the discussion off limits, and that's where I got, that's where I got dinged by Media Matters, was in a discussion with Stéphane Molyneux about the bell curve and all the rest of it. If you're not gonna address, if you are saying that there appears to be a problem and there is an entire side of the problem that we're not even going to discuss, then what are we doing here? If there's evidence for this, then it's something that we need to understand and talk about. If there isn't, then that's something too. And I really don't understand how. There's something about intelligence, Nobody ever complains when they're not the tallest person in the room, or if you say that maybe your kid is a little slow off the blocks, or maybe your kid doesn't have a good sense of art, or maybe your kid is not much of an athlete, like I said, or maybe your kid yells in class, or whatever. Any kind of abnormality is fine, unless you say that your kid's actually not very smart, and then people lose their minds. And it's whether you agree with it or not is not the point, really. How do you know whether to agree with it or not unless you hear it? This is the essence of free speech, right? You can't even tell forget about whether they're right or wrong. You don't even get to decide whether something is repugnant to you morally or not if you never get to hear it. And this is why free speech is so important. I don't think I don't think that Kanye West should have been kicked off of Twitter. I don't think anybody should be kicked off of Twitter. I think he's in the middle of a nervous breakdown, and I think he really could use some help. But when you decide that some people can't speak, then it's just a matter of who makes the decision. Who makes the decision? Who gets to decide? And what is the criteria for decision making? And in the case of Twitter for the last 10, 15 years, the criteria has been, I don't like the way that makes me feel. Therefore, Stefan Molyneux, you're gone. Right? You're gone. So Bart's Treasure says, Peterson has talked about this, IQ and its correlation to achievement and success and so on. One of the things, about the IQ thing is, while everybody's concentrating on, on African IQ, Hispanic IQ, and all the rest of it compared to whites, nobody's really paying attention to the fact that, according to this research, Asians are 3 or 4 IQ points ahead of whites at least, and European Jews are 12 to 15 points ahead on IQ, because they had to be bred for intelligence, because that's what allowed them to survive. They were self-selecting for intelligence. Okay. I don't find myself personally offended if it turns out that these European Jews have on balance, a 15-point IQ lead over white people. I'm not offended by that. I'm just not impressed by it. Same thing with Asians, right? Chinese may be 5 points, 10 points smarter than us, maybe, but they sure as hell aren't doing what we're doing. It's not just intelligence. Now, I'm the last person to want to define down intelligence. You have athletic intelligence. It's not intelligence, and we all know it. If you really want to be good at something, there are people out there. I had this realization many times. I could go into a room of people, and everybody in that room, every single one of them, knows more about many, many things than I do. Even the dumbest people in that room know a lot more about certain things than I do. Once you get to that place, then you have no bitterness left in you, and you have no arrogance either. Everybody knows more about something than I do, and that's it doesn't bother me. I want to succeed, and I want to do things like go to the moon. So, in any event, just talking about it from a showbiz point of view rather than a political point of view, this is not the censoring of any speech I think is a real disservice, because we don't know what we don't know, and also how can you decide whether something seems right or not if you haven't heard the argument? If I thought that the argument as presented sometimes was, if it was taken as it's often presented, then I would say, well, it's a real problem. Then I look at the Tuskegee Institute, and I look at the fact that they put out the students there at higher academic scores, and they also had a better legitimacy rate than the white students around them. So to me, it seems that most of it anyway, is motivation, and nobody wants to talk about motivation either, because motivated people don't vote for socialism, I guess. Okay, so here's the okay, so here we are with our friend who's going by DFRSS in the comment section on Twitch. He said, last stream, Bill missed my super chat. Yes, evil exists. That's why I joined the infantry, so I can go wherever evil sleeps, screw my rifle into its ear, and pulled the trigger a couple of times. I would love for him to see it this time. Well, I saw it this time. I'm sorry I missed it last time. My friend who came from across the seas to become an American citizen, and he's joined the infantry. And he's doing what tens of millions of Americans won't do. I did not remember to turn on YouTube channel memberships, Rodzilla, because YouTube channel memberships require members-only content, and I just can't produce anything extra right now. I did finish writing the firewall, however, about misinformation and how to lie. It's called Weaponized Trust, and it is it's the longest one I've ever done. It's nearly 20 minutes long. I'm looking at how I can cut it, but I just don't know if I can, and I don't know if I should. I always think, oh man, you got to get the shorter. But then we heard the argument about, look, either short stuff or long stuff. But 7-8 minutes is right where you don't want to be. The firewall is based on, which I hope to shoot tomorrow, but it's finished. Is based on my experience with a mentalist. I went to see a mind reader show and feats of memory and so on. And I did that because I wanted to learn how people are manipulated. That's what the show was advertised as, how body language, subtle psychological cues, psychological blind spots, all that stuff, how an understanding of those things you can use to manipulate and get people to do what they want to do. And I saw that and I said, I want to know how that works. So I went to the show, and when the show was over, I know how it works. I know exactly how it works. And you need to know how it works. Because once you see it, and once it's staring you in the face, I think this is a really good example. This firewall will be a good example for people who are having a hard time believing that all of this stuff that's being labeled as conspiracy theories is real, or even that any of it is real. There are people that just don't believe that there's any election fraud. They don't believe there's any problems with the Victrola. They don't believe that there was any, intent with COVID, all of that stuff. They don't believe it because they trust in these institutions. And what I do in this firewall is I show how people can build and maintain that trust while being untrustworthy. And some of these examples are so obviously clear. So I go through the show as I saw the show, right? I saw the show. I write about what I saw and how I felt about it. Then at the end of the show, during the last half hour, starting to get a good idea of what was going on and some of these psychological tricks that he was using. And then by the time the show ended, I was sure. So then I go back through the show again, and I say, and when he did this, what he's really doing is that. And once I point it out to you, you can see it. I'll just tease you one example here. Let me think. So in the show, the first person he called on, I'm not going to tease it to you. I'm not, because I don't want to spoil the show, and I especially don't want to spoil the firewall. It'll be out there the next day or two, and there's no huge amount of graphics to do. I just have to record it and throw myself in front of a lake of fire and just get that puppy up there. So, but this one is I think it's a really timeless one. I hope it has that effect. It's not about, trans athletes or anything. This one is really, I don't know. I think it pulls the curtain back. It doesn't feel like it's a monumental work, but it certainly feels like it might be valuable. So we'll find out soon enough. If I were to tell you a little bit about the cheating part of it, I would give away my own reveal, and I don't want to do that. I feel bad enough about giving away this guy's reveal. I really genuinely feel bad about that. Yes, offering to help me edit the video, I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of these offers, all of the volunteer offers. I appreciate them enormously. You have no idea how much I appreciate them. But it's just a question of cycles now. And Bart says, make it a two-parter. It makes it extra special. I can't make it a two-parter, Bart, just because of the structure of it. I mean, the first part is the setup, and then the second part is the payoff. And you can't just have the setup without the payoff, and you can't just have the payoff without the setup. So it's easy to do. I got it written. So I will hope to shoot it tomorrow. Our air conditioning is still out in this building. It's been out for 3 months now. We're still talking about signing another lease, and I'm not going to sign another lease until 6-month lease until we get the air conditioning fixed. So I was going to do it today, but it's just too hot in here, too warm anyway. So, but it's long. It's going to be 20 minutes. But I'm looking at it, trying to cut it, and it's like, I think it's entertaining. So we'll see. I think it'll be fun. All right, let's do just a couple more, and then I'm going to kind of boogie home, I'm afraid, guys. Like I said, it's I just haven't had a chance to work on a whole lot of pop culture stuff. I've just been a writing machine, and when this thing is off my shoulders, I just need to get out of here, go someplace. Okay, let's see. I mean, look, it's nice outside. It's California's air conditioned outdoors, and right outside now it's probably 65 degrees, something like that. We don't have air conditioning. We don't have heat. Today was a warm day. When it's a cold day, it's fine in here. And we've got that for another couple of months. Air Techie says, what about the second animation? I don't know if I confused you somehow, but we only had that one animation. You mean running it again? I don't think people need to see it again. You can always, once I post it, you can just back up and watch it if that's what it means. Thank you very much, guys, for all the kind words. Are there any last kind of showbiz questions kind of thing? I'm trying to work in a Zoom call with members. I'll do that once a week, and then if I can get that in and I had it, and I've got it, keep those plates spinning, then I might do a second Zoom call for the producing members. But I am going to do a Zoom call for members. So if you're a member, you'll receive an email saying, here's our invitation, and we can just talk face to face. It'll be like an ongoing chat thing, no topic, just whatever you want to talk about. So I'm looking forward to putting that in the mix. And then I want to get back on the Don't Be an Idiot series. I want to get those things started. I've just got so much to do. So that's really it. But I'll tell you one thing: I would much rather be working on the other stuff. I just love it so much. I'm feeling every day going by. It's like, God, it's yet another day that I didn't get to build this thing. And so, you can't always get what you want. Yes, Zoom. He says Zoom. Our friend Wesley says Zoom needs a few hours warning. This would be a regular time. It'll be like, I don't know, Wednesday at 2 or something, whatever. It'll be a regular time, same time every week. Yes, I did see the Kirstie Alley thing, Heretic. We started talking about Cheers and stuff in the beginning. I'll just close with this. CB Tome says, how do we put traditional values into media? Where are the Eagle Scouts? So I've been operating for a while now under the assumption, and I think it's justified, that the Hollywood system is permanently corrupt and dying anyway. So I'm not looking to Hollywood to do anything. And social media is what it is, but certainly when you see videos out there that get 10 million views, which is not a crazy huge number, 10 million views on a TV show or 10 million views on 10 million people buying tickets to the movies, that's a big number. Mike Rowe said that to me before we were doing the last show. I think he said, look, if I got, I forget the number. I really genuinely forget the number. But it's something to the effect of, he said, look, if I got 200,000 views for an episode of Deadliest Catch, the studio would send me a bouquet of flowers, and a box of candies, because that's a crazy good number. He says, I'm getting that on virtually all of my podcasts. So there's an audience out there. And so it's not going to come from Hollywood. The only reason I brought this up is because the question is, how do we put traditional values into the media? This is one thing I did want to talk about tonight, so I'll give this a little more time. So while I am very racked in terms of what I'm writing, but I often can listen to stuff. And some people listen to political podcasts. I tend to listen to, I used to listen to an awful lot of stuff like Doomcock and Nerdrotic. I do a little less of that now. And I've been spending a lot of time with Odin's Men and that led me to some other people who are commenting not on the pop culture now. They're not commenting on TV shows or movies. They're commenting on the culture, on what's actually happening. And so I've been watching that very closely now for a couple weeks. And there is a tectonic movement going on now. And it's just starting, but it's there and it's real. And I've got long distance antenna. I can't, I'm not real good at what to do in the next 5 minutes or even when to hit the record button, but long distance radar is a skill set of mine. And what I'm seeing out there is that the life that the liberals and the progressives have sold people on is misery, and everybody out there is unhappy with it. I'm seeing lots of videos of women standing up for men, saying these guys have gotten the short end of the stick. Seeing lots of videos of men and women competing in the same sport and just watching the men just annihilate these women. I'm watching a lot of videos about young men telling other young men how to not be simps. And I'm also seeing a lot of videos about young women who are becoming extraordinarily unhappy because they bought into the whole thing like, I'll just be a bad bitch for summer, and I'll have a body count of 40 or 50 or 60, and they were told they can just go out and be essentially as much of garrulous jackasses as men are, but it's not the same. It's the biology's not the same. A simp is like a beta male. It's a specific kind of beta male. I used to be a simp. I was a simp for most of my, certainly throughout high school and most of college. A simp is the kind of guy who does the homework of the girl he wants to impress while she's, going out with the football team captain. Simps are the guys who think that you can somehow work your way into, or maybe worm your way into, people's affections by basically giving them everything they want. And women control simps. And some of them have gotten very, very good at it. And there's a real movement out there. It's real. It's kind of a real bro movement, a real bro movement that is like, these women are getting so mercenary. I want a man that makes $300,000 minimum, and he's got to be 6'1", and he's got to have a car and all this other stuff. And I'm seeing tons of videos where men are calling them out and saying, okay, well, what do you bring to the table? I'm beautiful. It's like, well, you're a 6, maybe a 7, and that number is going to go down every day. What do you bring to the table? And they're finally hearing, somebody speaking the truth to them. There's this one clip where there's these women lined up in a hall, and there's a black guy who's either a rapper or a sports star, somebody famous to young people. All these women lined up, and he's going down the line, and he's saying 6. He's ranking them 6, 7, 4, 7, and as he's going down the line, the woman who he said was a 4 starts to stagger, and then she faints, hits the wall, and goes down. crashed, you know. Some of these women are extraordinarily mercenary, and that's why I say things out there are actually kind of going our way, you know. Nobody's buying the woke philosophy, nobody's buying their movies, nobody's buying their ideology, and on a daily basis, Gen Z is finding out that all this stuff that they told them was going to work is making them miserable. Miserable. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen in the last 2 weeks, which are videos of you know, girl bosses, strong, stunning women who are saying, I'm 37 or I'm 42 or I'm this or I'm that, and I've got my own apartment and I've got my own job and I make good money, and I come home to my apartment and my cats and I'm all alone, and I can't seem to find anybody, and you know, and all the good men are gone. And then the guys are saying, well, maybe you shouldn't have run up a body count of 50 or 60 before you got married, because a lot of guys, thank you very much, Deplorable Boomer Rube. What a great name. That should be the name of like one of the recovery barges for SpaceX. Deplorable Boomer Rube. I love it. Thank you very much for the super chat. So they're basically just, it's really all coming home now. You know, that these women are amazed that they can sleep with all these guys, but they can't keep any of them, and they don't know why. And much more importantly, I'm seeing lots and lots and lots of channels for young men who are kind of coming around to this whole thing, and it's like, you know, it's like we've about had enough of this being written out of the world. And that is often accompanied by video clips of men competing in tennis or in some cases boxing. Did you guys see? I'm going to have to get it because some of you have seen it. A couple days ago, when they had the woman trying out for the NFL as a kicker, this video went a long way to waking people up. And I will download it for you and show it to you because it's really quite remarkable. 137. Oh, look at that. What do you know? There's not many of them. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Give me a second just to download it. So this is a open. This is an open tryout for professional football, and this woman is applying to play in the NFL because she's an extraordinarily good soccer kicker. She's got a real powerful soccer strike, and I think I'll just let the video do the talking here because pictures speak louder than words. You see these videos where you sometimes will see these young women, really dumb young women, genuinely, I've been warning about this forever, genuinely thinking that if they got into a fight with a guy, they could beat him up. This is dangerous. It's not only dangerous for the women, it's dangerous for the men to think that, you know, we'll just send the girls out to do it. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a shock. Where did I put it? All right, let me see if I can just drop this in here. Nope, that doesn't want to work that way. Hang on, just give me a second. What I need to do is see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm still here. Don't panic. Okay. Where'd it go? Hold on. Nobody panic. Just everybody stay calm. I understand we are in blackout mode. I get that. Okay. Here it is. She claims she was injured. If this doesn't show the actual length of the kick, I'll be very upset. Damn it. All right.
I wanted to come out today. Well, I was really excited.
Find a version that does show the length of the kick.
And
because that
obviously it was a very frustrating
there's
day
your
because
problem
I wanted
right
to
there.
show the world,
Right? There's your
how well
problem
I could
right there.
Overall, it was an absolutely fun experience.
All right. Internet, you want to be that way?
A great
Fine.
Day.
Two can play at that game.
It's frustrating to be
Two
an
can play at that
athlete
game. I'm not done yet. She claims she hurt her leg as she was doing the kick. All right. The reason this thing makes the point that this thing makes is you need to watch it. You need to watch it from the stadium to see how far she kicked the ball. All they showed you there was the ball leaving the tee. It doesn't tell you anything. Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely being suppressed. All right, it was just everywhere. Hang on, everybody, be cool. No, just be cool. I'm looking at something. Sorry about the dead air. I know, but I'm almost there with it. And again, they don't show it. See, that's just being censored. All right. I'm not done yet. I'm not done, and I'm not giving up. Okay, I think I got it. Here it is on Good Morning America. It'll be spun all kinds of different ways. I'm going to play it anyway. I don't care. I'm just angry. I'm angry that they, trying to keep this con game going here. So, all right, we can do that. Hang on, everybody. I don't care if there's anybody left when I'm done with this. I'm doing it anyway. I'm on a mission now. Where did you go? Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, so this is a segment from looks like ABC News. It's about 3 minutes long. I'm only going to play it up to the kick, and then I'm just going to stop it. Okay, so hang on. Let's all just once again, everybody kind of stay cool here. Don't panic. I'm going to go to this. I'm going to delete this.
I'm doing great.
Here's the actual kick as seen from the stands.
Right to that young woman who kicked her way into history, the first woman to get a shot at going to the NFL, except she didn't do very well. Yeah, her kick was, some say, a setback for all women. ABC's Juju Chang is here with the escalating controversy. Juju.
Hey, Amy. Well, it was supposed to be one small kick for Lauren Silberman and one giant leap for womankind. Instead, it turned into a painful moment in women's sports that went viral and blew up with the age-old question, can women ever make it to the big leagues?
It was the kick heard round the world, which landed with a thud. Make that two thuds. 28-year-old Lauren Silberman's hopes of being the first woman in the NFL fell so far short, she became fodder for comedians.
Well, there she is, kicking the football, and
I bring this topic up.
she did not make the NFL.
And that's a shame because
Some questioned if Silberman, a former soccer player who'd never
think that I've got this grudge against women. Ask Wesley Bruce for Super Chat. Australia has whole female rugby teams. Female rugby teams are like female basketball teams. That's fine. But the reason I keep bringing this up is because young men are believing it, and young women are believing it. They're believing it. Oh, is it still playing? think it's over. Hopefully. Remove. Yeah, sorry about that. So they're believing it, and this is a little dose of reality. The reason I bring all this up is the question was, how do we bring morality and stuff back into entertainment? And what I'm saying is, out there on the horizon, the values that we believe in, that we're trying to conserve, are starting to make a big resurgence, because despite the fact that the left has had all the megaphones and done all of the propaganda and the programming and all the rest of it, as usual, it cannot conform with reality. And reality is returning different results to these young people, and they're not happy about it. And watching this kind of this I don't want to call it male pride, because it's not that. It's not a we need to go out and bang a bunch of drums, and give hugs and stuff. It's not that at all. It's more like a you know what, guys? It's probably time to stop pretending now, because we've been letting them win, and it's getting a little out of hand. It's getting a little out of hand. I think it's probably time that we remind some of these people that that girls aren't better at everything, and boys aren't better at everything either. Anyway, that was the kick, and I don't think she handled it in a very manly fashion either. She claimed she pulled a muscle or something when she did the kick, which may or may not be true. But if it is true, then if you pull a muscle on a 17-yard punt, you may not be right for the NFL. Not only did the ball not go very far, but if there's a rush, if you're going to try and block that kick, it's going to be sitting on the tee for a long time. Anyway, I bring it up because I'm tired of people lying about this stuff, and so the answer to your question is, the way you get these values back into the pop culture is you let the pop culture kind of come to you on this one. I really mean it. It's a really relatively new insight of mine, but that's really where I've been mentally for the last couple of weeks, is that while I've spent so much time trying to get the pop culture to these young people, it's actually like they're coming to traditional values because of what not because of what happens on the screen, but because of what happens in their lives. And they're not happy. But the women seem to be a lot more unhappy than the men are. And the attitude among the young men that I'm seeing is really shockingly good. It's not that kind of I'm powerful and brave. It's not that kind of affirmation. It's not that kind of you got this kind of thing. I actually snapped at some. I am so good on a set. When we are shooting this, whenever we're shooting the stuff for Daily Wire, I make it a point to be the most professional, easiest going, funniest guy that they've ever worked with. That is a serious, constant objective of mine. I am always telling jokes at my own expense. I'm always kind and gracious to everybody. The only time I ever just kind of yapped back at somebody was when we were on, I don't know, day 5 or 6 of this Cold War shoot. And I'd read 180 pages of teleprompter with another 20 pages to go. So I'd been reading nonstop teleprompter for pretty much 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day for the last 5-6 days. And we were on the next to last script, and there was a line, and I just kept blowing the line. I would read it, and I'd get down to it, and I just kept botching it, and I kept botching it at the same place. And it was late in the day, and I was getting tired, and, I was getting frustrated. And then, it's like I blow it again. So I just kind of went, oh, God damn it, And then off camera, the makeup girl said, come on, Bill, you got this. I said, I know I've got it. You don't have to tell me I've got it. I know I've got it. Sorry, I didn't mean that. But that was my immediate reaction. Like, you've got this. I know I've got this. I don't need I don't need a cheering section, to give me the self-esteem necessary to get through it. The reason I'm upset is because I know I've got this and I'm not getting it, and that's annoying because I'm usually pretty good at getting this thing. It just obviously it's intended to be kind and supportive, and there's not a mean bone in that person's body. It just hit me the wrong way, You got this. You can do it, Bill. I know I can do it. Obviously I can do it. I don't know why it hit me that way, but it did. I mean, really, just that just put it's like a burr under me, like that. So anyway, I guess that's about it. And what Eric said, with our side, letting the pop culture do its thing is how we got into this mess. That's how we lost Disney, unless we forget what was a conservative. Yes, but some things are bigger than we are, and this thing has been in motion since the 1960s, and it has had billions of dollars. George Soros alone put $40 billion into this thing, and that produces a result. So now we have to fight against this gigantic force. But to say that it's something that we have, all we have to do is just get up and show up. No, it's much harder than that, I think. All right, anyway, I think it's time to close this show because, I've got this. I can do it. I can close this show. I know I can. I've got this. I'm strong and brave. I'm, powerful, and I'm bright, and I'm attractive, and everybody loves me. When Stalin got to his dacha, he felt, God. When Stalin got to his dacha, he found out that